Hi, I am Leisha Atwood, tobacco treatment specialist at Hope Cancer Resources, and it is Wellness Wednesday. Today, I wanted to do part one of a two-part series around how to be around and also support someone if you live together and one person is quitting, the other one is not. So today I was going to focus on if you are the person who is not going to quit. Maybe you use tobacco products or smoke, and the person that you are living with is wanting to quit, kind of getting ready to go through that process, and just some tips and things to consider as being that support person through that process with them. The number one thing I would say is just being upfront with your partner, your spouse, your roommate, whoever it may be, and just letting them know, like, hey, if you really are not ready to quit at that time, and letting them know that you're there to support them, but you aren't ready to make that commitment in quitting. I think this can be really helpful. Just because as I've worked with people who are quitting, sometimes they'll say, okay, my spouse is going to quit with me. I kind of talk them into it. They're going to do it, and that person may not really be fully committed to doing it, and it can be a hindrance at times when the other person may not follow through, when the person that is quitting was kind of planning on them or depending on them to quit smoking with them as well. So it really kind of changes the dynamics of what I would talk about with that person on strategies and how to overcome some of those triggers when you're around someone else that smokes. So I think it's just really important just to be honest and be upfront, like, hey, this is something I'm not ready to do, but I'm willing to support you through the process. And I think that really can go a long way with the other person. Number two is being willing to compromise, and a little bit of compromise goes a long way. So examples for that, and I think I've talked about this before, is just being able to, okay, hey, I know we both smoke in the house or in the apartment, let's work on both smoking outside, or I'm not going to smoke in the same room with you. When you're in the living room, I'm not going to smoke in the living room. So it might just be little things like that that you can do just to help the other person when they're going through that process. So just being willing to hear some of those things out and maybe compromise a little bit in your daily routines when it comes to smoking. The next thing is really, just being, and I think I said this at the beginning, just being able to support that person. And just saying, even observations like, hey, I've noticed that you haven't been smoking as much, or, whenever we go and do this, I notice when you're driving, you're not smoking. Just little things that you observe that they're doing as they're quitting that will help encourage them and let them feel or know that that you're seeing the progress that they're making, even though you may not be ready to quit smoking at that time. That can really be helpful. Next is being able to kind of separate as much as you can, and this happens a lot with spouses. They may share the pack of cigarettes. They may kind of, like, if one person leaves half a cigarette in an ashtray, the other person may pick it up and smoke it. So just being able to try to separate those each person's cigarettes, so that the person that is quitting really has better idea of how much they're smoking, and they're going to be able to track how much they're smoking a lot better. So just being able to try to separate those things and help the other person maybe separate from you, in the sense of, like, you keeping your pack separate and what you smoke versus them. Just helping with tracking it is a big deal. And then the last thing is really letting, if that person wants to smoke and you have cigarettes and they're trying to quit, they're trying to quit, not making it easy for them to access your cigarettes, or some people, especially spouses, have that where, hey, they'll go ahead and buy a pack for their spouse because they're used to doing that in the past. So just being aware of those little things, like, I know I used to buy you cigarettes and now I'm not, like being okay with kind of separating that as well. And just trying to but like give that person the opportunity to reduce their smoking. And if they do want a cigarette from you, they will ask you, and let them ask you if they want that, but don't offer it. So I hope that makes sense. But just giving these tips, I think, will help someone who isn't ready to quit smoking, but living with someone who is, just maybe how to navigate that a little bit better and still be supportive and help the other person be successful.